Hello, my name is Avantega and I am from MajorMixing.com. Today I would like to talk to you about how to record vocals properly. We're going to discuss such things as the room issues, how to adjust the equipment, and how to settle the proper emotional state for a singer. So let's get to it. The first thing is the emotional state. If you are the one who is recording or being recorded, the main thing is how you actually feel about it. And the more you feel at ease, the better the record will come. Try joking, prepare some tea with no sugar, put the glass of water in the reach of a hand. Try to make the atmosphere as relaxed as possible. The atmosphere is the key issue, as the person who takes the record for the first time has their expectations too high. Make a client understand that you're a pro. Be friendly, correct the singer if necessary, but try not to get stuck in one place, like the first verse, for example, because after you have recorded the whole song, you can always come back to the hard parts, after the client is relaxed and got used to the process. Nowadays, it's essential to sound natural and true, rather than like you're reading the lyrics from the list. It's the song, not the text. So, if the singer is in the right state of mind, not thinking about the pitch all the time, if all the technical issues are solved, with this moment settled, you're good to go. Next thing to mention is a checklist of things you have to go through every time you're starting a record. Especially if you're a beginner, try to check things by a list up until it becomes a habit. The list of the things you might want to check before the client comes to your studio. If all the wires are connected, if the microphone records the proper signal, if the headphones are working, the talkback is on, the plugins are set. Also, a good thing to check is the background noise that might come from your neighbors or from the outside of your studio. Your mic should be facing the right direction, which is the singer's face. There is a small mark in front of every microphone that shows its working side. You must double check this every time before you're starting a record. The next step is to adjust your preamp properly. If you're recording the signal too hot, it might just start clipping and destroy all the record. If you're recording the signal too low, you might drown your singer in the noise. So the best way is to record somewhere in the range between -6 and -12 dB. Next is the project at your DAW. You need to check if all the inputs and outputs are connected, the sample rate is set to the proper one, and the drivers are working. Maybe you might even want to create a template of a project where all the tracks are already there and all of them are connected to the needed channels with the effects you might want to use while recording for the monitoring or while listening the recorded material. Having your effect plugins pre-adjusted is a pretty good idea, because sometimes you might want to show the client how the vocals will sound on the final stage of its production. As for me, I prefer to use a slight pitch correction on every vocal track in my template. So this gives you two options. The first option, it is always easier to bypass a plugin when your client wants to hear the vocals raw. The second option might sound like a little trick, but this gives you an opportunity to show to the client the vocal that is slightly tuned, so he approves it faster. Also, it is really easy to bypass all the plugins in your DAW with just one click of a mouse every time the client wants to hear the raw vocals. Okay, so now let's talk about the equipment that might help your record to sound better. And also, it is much easier to mix the vocals that have been recorded on a good microphone. Audio interface. What is important is that you buy one with good preamps for recording. The number of slots, the number of DSP-based plugins is not necessary, but the preamps are an issue you should take seriously. Pop filter is a very necessary thing to have, because you can always correct the pitch, you can choose another take, but when it comes to plosives, it's really hard to correct them. And believe me, you don't want to take a risk. So, spare a sum of 15 to 20 bucks and it will serve you for years and years, but will save you hours and hours of editing. Next, the room. And the room is where things might get a little bit complicated. But you can improve it after you know how the sound is recorded. The first thing you need to consider is where you stand in the room. It might be an option to stand a bit closer to the corner than to the center of the room. Not squeezing your back into the corner, but to choose a position somewhere in the middle between the center of the room and the corner of it. You may use something to baffle the high frequencies. This might be some parts of the furniture, maybe some pillows, but the best way is to choose something from the market, like the professional frequency traps or diffusers. Not only it guarantees you better results, but also it looks better. Try to avoid as much early reflections as possible. If there is an opportunity to build a booth for recording the vocals, then build it. If not, you can use curtains, mattresses. If the singer records in the same room with an engineer, there are things that should also be mentioned. Try to avoid as much noise as possible. Do not type on the keyboard during the record or click the mouse. Use the closed type of the headphones. This will help you to avoid bleeding the signal into the microphone. Now let's talk about the distance between the microphone and the singer. The closer you get to the microphone, the more low frequencies and mid-low frequencies are going to be recorded. The further you get from the microphone, the less of the low frequencies are going to be recorded, but you will record more reflections of the room you're in. So if you're recording something intimate like whispers or silent, low voice, you might want to record it like 4 to 5 inches from the microphone. When you're wailing, screaming, or recording some emotional vocals, you might want to increase the distance to maybe 10 inches. It's something like 25 centimeters. Now let's talk about such things as background vocals, ad-libs, choir, etc. After the process of the lead vocals recording is over, the singer might consider to record background vocals. And the main feature about recording the background vocals is that you always have to record it 2 times. For example, you record the subtones. You should consider that you have to record the left subtone and the right subtone, because you will pan them accordingly. The same thing goes with the low vocals and the falsetto vocals, screaming doubles. So let's call it a day and make the conclusion. To record the vocals professionally, there are 4 things you have to keep in mind. First, good gear with good preamps. Second, a room with a good acoustic treatment. Third, right distance to a microphone, which is from 4 to 10 inches, that is like 10 to 25 centimeters. And the fourth is the right gain. If you go through all these 4 stages, you will record the vocals professionally. So, if you found this video useful, hit the like button and subscribe. And remember, if you're looking for an industry quality mixing and mastering services, click the link below and go to majormixing.com. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.